What's going on, Falcons fans? Welcome into Falcons Today by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here, previewing what I think is a pretty big Week 11 matchup between two NFC teams that are right there on the bubble of the wild card playoff hunt, and a win would definitely put them into the hunt. A loss, more so for the Bears, would pretty much knock them out. So we're going to run through some keys to victory, but first, let's check out the injury report. Lucky for Atlanta, it's a lot shorter of a list than Chicago. Terrell returned to practice today on Wednesday. That's great news. Not because the Bears have some awesome wide receiver that Terrell has to shadow, but because Terrell is a really good football player. And they have missed Hayward and Terrell the last handful of weeks. Eric Harris is currently limited with a foot injury. And then Felipe Franks, who gives a damn, go Vols, is out with a calf injury right now. Did I let my Tennessee spirit come through? My bad. All right, we're in a sub-battle, though, this week with our Bears Now channel here at Chat Sports. They've got quite the leg up. It's 103-27. So if you want the Falcons to win on Sunday, I'm not going to guarantee subscribing will translate to that, but I'm not going to not guarantee it, right? Somewhere we're in between Michael Scott, a little bit of stitches, so make sure to subscribe if you want the Falcons to win, or if you're looking for a Falcons YouTube channel with free content. All right, let's look at the Bears injury report, which is a lot longer than the Falcons injury report. David Montgomery missed the first practice for Week 11 with a personal injury. Now, the Bears' backup running back, Khalil Herbert, got placed on injured reserve this week, so they are a little thin at running back at the moment. Cole Kmet, their former second-round pick, tight end, he's really starting to break out the last few weeks. He popped up on the injury report with a thigh injury. Rookie corner, Kyler Gordon with the knee. Tevin Jenkins, their starting right guard, with a hip injury on the report. Cornerback Kendall Vildor. And then defensive end Muhammad. I'm not going to even try and say that first name. And then Dane Cruikshank with a DB. He's out. What's that? Oh, I'm not going to try and pronounce. My producer's trying to whisper it in my ear. I'm going to veto that right now. Nothing major for the Bears, but I could argue David Montgomery and Cole Kmet could become major towards the end of the week, but no serious injuries at the moment. All right, keys to victory now. I got 4 keys for Atlanta. So Arthur Smith, listen up. Contain Justin Fields. If you were lucky enough to add Justin Fields in fantasy football 3 or 4 weeks ago, you're probably towards the top of your fantasy football standings right now. Because Fields is QB1. He has been really good. He has been lights out the last couple weeks. In fact, I'd go all the way to say Fields is nuclear. I mean, just the last 3 weeks, he has dominated on the ground. Not dominated like Michael Vick designed runs type, but taking broken plays and casually Lamar Jackson-esque rattling off a 60-yard touchdown run. All right, look at the last 3 weeks, guys. Completion percentage, 64.8. That's solid. He's thrown for 441 yards. That's a bit peculiar. 7 touchdowns, 385 rushing yards. That's why. He's rushing all over the place. There's not enough grass to throw. And 4 rushing touchdowns. 11 touchdowns the last 3 weeks. All right. Justin Fields, in my opinion, has been a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. You can go as far as to say he has been the best quarterback in the NFC North the last month or so, with the back-to-back MVP Aaron Rodgers sitting in that division as well. So the Falcons defense may be in trouble if they don't come up with a good solution that no team has the last month or so. Speaking of Justin Fields, I've got a friend who lives in Decatur, Georgia. We talk every so often, and I always like to ask this question to him. Do you think Atlanta would like to go back in time and redo the 2021 NFL Draft and go with Justin Fields? I want you all to weigh in here. This will help settle the debate between me and Will Hensley. If you know Will, tell him you say hello from the Falcons Today. We're on the same trivia team. Yes or no? He did cost us a trivia game last month, so I'm still pretty upset about that. No one cares about my trivia league. Should the Falcons have drafted Justin Fields? All right, second key to victory. Convert in the red zone. When it comes to games like this, where it's probably going to be pretty sloppy defensively and you're going to see a lot of points scored, the difference may be who gets those extra 4 points in the red zone, right? Who scores touchdowns instead of kicking field goals. I've got some big numbers, some big stats I want to share with you all. So the Bears defense is allowing 24.7 points per game. That is 7th worst in the NFL. So a bottom 10 defense, you could say. The Falcons' red zone success, well, Atlanta has scored touchdowns in the red zone 61% of the time. That's top 8. So we're going to go side by side. That bodes well pretty much for Atlanta. The Falcons should be able to score pretty easily. Everyone has been able to score pretty easily against this Bears defense, especially after they traded Roquan Smith to the Baltimore Ravens. It's just been a nosebleed that no one has been able to stop in Chicago. But I will say they have had some nice next man up mentality. A UDFA middle linebacker, Jack Sanborn, you're going to hear his name a ton this Sunday. He is filled in nicely. So that's why I get to take the points. This is shaping up to be a high-scoring game. 2 good offenses, 2 decent offenses, and 2, let's be objectively honest here, bad defenses, right? Less than stellar, bottom half of the league. That's why I say, you're in the red zone. If you can come away with 7 and the other team gets 3 in a high-scoring affair, that might be the difference maker. We've got more keys of the game to get to in just a moment, but we have awesome jerseys on sale right now over at Fanatics. Check out chatsports.com/pits. Easy enough. You cannot forget it. I've got that link in the comments and the description. And boom, if you're looking for a Kyle Pitts jersey, we've got them for you. It makes for an awesome holiday gift. So if you or a loved one is looking for a brand new Falcons jersey, get it right now. chatsports.com/pits. Third key to victory for Atlanta, protect Mariota, especially after that Thursday night game where anytime your starting quarterback becomes a meme on Twitter of Mariota trying to throw the football with his head in the dirt, it's not a good visual. No one wants to see that. The Falcons' offensive line has been roller coaster-esque this season, I would say. Atlanta is 1-4 this year when allowing 3 or more sacks. That is 10th worst in the NFL. Now, the Bears don't have some stellar pass rush. They traded away their top 2 pass rushers, Robert Quinn and Roquan Smith. But nevertheless, you don't want this game to get away from you, and you don't want a whole bunch of nobodies becoming some somebodies because they took advantage of this Falcons offensive line. I want to check out some tweets I saw that I thought you guys should see as well. So Orlando Ledbetter does a great job of covering the Falcons, tweeting out, the Falcons start Jalen Mayfield's 21-day activation period. He started 16 games at left guard last season. This is great news for the former third-round pick from Ann Arbor because the Falcons, they need some beefing up, right? Where's the beef? It's with Mayfield. He worked with the second team today in practice, so it's a good sign. I'm not going to go all the way to say he's a lock to play Sunday. Sometimes these players need a little extra ramping up, and 3-4 days of practice is not enough, but that is going to be a situation to monitor. All right, another piece of news I wanted to share here. Falcons have Chuma Edoga getting some work at left guard with the first-team offensive line. So right now we are seeing Arthur Smith not settle for the way this offensive line has performed. Well, you've got some great pieces, don't get me wrong. Jake Matthews and Chris Lindstrom have been rock solid this season. But everyone else, they definitely need to compete for their jobs. All right, Week 10 PFF grades for the guys up front here. I mean, Gossett, just a lot of these guys just not getting the job done at times. And a lot of players definitely not penciled in as starting offensive line material for years to come. So you might see some switch up at the offensive line, especially as players start to get healthy. They could push to take for their starting job. All right, speaking of the offensive line, and like I mentioned, the Bears don't have this premier edge rusher. Their number 1 sack leader on the active roster is a safety. Think about that for a second. The guy in the defense who is the furthest away from the quarterback at the time of the snap is leading the Bears in sacks this year. So the Falcons' offensive line could have a nice bounce-back performance against Chicago, but at the same time, this is the Bears' defense that's well-coached, and they play hard for all 4 quarters, so you don't want to just fart around with them and let things get interesting late. All right, who you got, though? Falcons or Bears? We ran through a handful of keys to victory, the injury report. I want to know who you got in this one. Put ATL for Atlanta or CHI for Chicago. All right, fourth and final key to victory I have for you today. Take advantage of the run. Falcons have one of the best rushing games in football. And good enough for them, the Chicago Bears have one of the worst rushing defenses in football. All right, Falcons running backs this year, they have averaged 126.3 yards per game, which is second in the NFL. That is awesome, especially when you take into account how bad the Bears have been at stopping the run this season. The Bears are allowing an average of 143 yards per game. That's 5th worst in the NFL. So just going side by side right there, strength against weakness, oil and water, the Falcons kick ass at running the football. The Bears suck ass at stopping the run. So advantage has to go to Atlanta in this category, and that's why the Falcons have to be dominant on the ground. They have to exploit the Bears' biggest weakness with their biggest strength. Don't let that get away from you in the game plan, Arthur Smith. Predict the score. Bears, Falcons. We'll wrap up today's show with this question right here. Curious who you got in this one and by how much. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. The Bears have been very close for the last couple of weeks of getting over the edge, nearly beat the Cowboys, the Dolphins, and the Lions. It's going to be a close one. I will reserve my score prediction for later in the week, but I want to hear yours right now.